This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronnie Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We're at Tuesday, right? What's happening, guys?
What's happening? Good to be back. Good to see y'all.
Good to be playing around, having a good time in real estate. For those who don't know, this is recorded, but we wanted to do a quick power play live to the groups that we're part of, the groups that we have, and just wanted to do something that we're bringing back where we used to do this live. Was that twice a week? I think it was twice a week at one point, where we're just out there giving a lot of content. Then we moved over to doing a lot of interviews, which we're still doing those interviews with the Power Play podcast. And now we are just hanging out as four guys, wanted to give the value that we can just from what we've been learning over the last, I'd say, well, as long as we've been in this business, but we wanted to really share what's happening now in the marketplace and just different things that we've been seeing in the last 6 months that we can give value to those who are looking to either get into investing, learning creative financing, learning strategic ways to close deals and to do deals. I know a lot of us in this group, pretty much all of us have been doing commercial real estate. And so that's been exciting to do different aspects of commercial real estate. So guys, welcome to the Real Estate Power Play podcast. Let's jump into it. Today, the big topic that we have going on is how are we doing deals right now? How are we acquiring deals? And we want to get some feedback for those who are listening, who are on here. This is at 6 o'clock Eastern time or 5 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Central time. So we just want to hear back from you guys also and just get some responses. So if you have any questions or anything, just let us know. And then text us. You have the messenger you could connect with us on and all different stuff. Marty has Twitter. All of us have different aspects to just help you grow. We got started in this, to remind everybody, we got started in this by being four guys that connected. We live in 4 different states. We've only met each other a few times hanging out, talking real estate. That's our yearly mastermind that we do in Palm Beach. And then from there, we got upstate New York. We got Ronnie from pretty much the whole state of Michigan. Mark Monroe from all of Florida, where you see all the nice photos and all the cool boats and yachts. And obviously I'm in Houston, Texas, which I do from Dallas to all over the place in Texas. So anyways, guys, what's happening? Let's hit it. How are we doing deals right now? What's happening?
All right. I will go first, I guess. So it's cool. Thanks for having everybody on. I appreciate it, and excited to have this back. So anybody listening right now, if you guys have any questions, please pop them in. So, we'll also make this a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to drop in. But I guess we're going to just talk about like how we're finding deals currently in today's market. All right, cool. So for me, and you guys know this, and I know everybody here has a different way of going about it, but I use bird dogs. I'm using a lot of bird dogs currently out there in today's market, just getting a ton of referrals, like trash men. They know the neighborhoods that are vacant. I have them, they take a screenshot, they send it to, I have a whole system set up. So it just comes in. And then from there, one of my VAs runs with it and does the whole skip tracing. So that's one source for me. And I would say where I get my best sweet deals and my home run deals, hospice nurses. That's where
You're going for those nurses, huh?
What's that, Gabe?
So you're going for those nurses, huh?
I shouldn't laugh, but it does. I have one right now that we're actually doing up in New England. And
nice.
We're closing out at the end of the month. And on that particular one, I'll talk real quick and then I'll go to Marty. So on that particular one, it's a husband and wife. They're both elderly. He is ill. and she's a little bit too elderly to take care of him. So they have to move in with the daughter, and the daughter lives a little bit more than 3 hours away. And they've owned the home for 38 years. And it's just so much for them to get the house ready to put on the market, the list with a realtor. So they reached out to me, and I went through it. I said, hey, you know what? Just take what you want, and whatever you don't want, just leave behind. And this actually had happened a few different times. Leave behind what you want. And I mean, they left so much behind. Um, the cable modem, the cable, the modem, TVs, the holiday dishes, everything was left. So I structured that through a seller financing with a 7-year balloon, and we set up the note that it's going to be in a trust. So if anything happens to her, it goes to the heirs. And I also set it up with 2 months with no payments at all. So that's just an example of one of mine that I'm doing. But let's jump over to Marty.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Happy to be back. And like Gabe and Mark and Ronnie said, feel free to ask questions. But how are we finding deals? We're a couple different ways. The best way is when people come to you, and we do that through Google AdWords. I feel like that's going to be if you can figure that out and you have the budget, or if you're just willing to do the stuff that no one else wants to do, which is learn it and be okay with all the changes and updates Google makes, you can really differentiate yourself very quickly, especially if you don't have the years in the business, right? So example, when we started doing it, we didn't have 20, 30 years like some of our biggest competitors did, but we knew that people were more likely to go to Google, type in, sell my house quick, than they were to go on the yellow pages or drive by a banner that was, hanging in the city, or a billboard, right? So that's a really nice way of doing it. You can do it through Facebook. There's a lot of different ways that people have gotten ads. We do them, or have gotten success through ads, and we've done it through Google Ads, and it's still our best. Really is. The second way is, it's never dead for commercial anyways. What we're doing is direct mail, and direct handwritten, looks handwritten. We add a picture of my partner Matt and his family to it. It's a home run. It's a home run every time. I got people calling me saying they're not interested in selling, but they're going to keep the card. They're going to keep the letter and hang it up because it's their best letter they've ever gotten. So we've been doing very well with those two things. So for residential, it's been Google Ads, and then commercial, it's been direct mail, but having a little bit of differentiator by adding some personality to it. That's what's going on up here.
Nice. That's what's going on. Ronnie, what do you think, man? What's been happening in your world as far as what's been working?
It's funny. I actually had someone reach out to me today about just their process and analyzing deals. And I think one of the things I'm running into, guys, is people are just nervous that their source of deals or leads are going to dry up. Or if you're new and you're trying to get started, that you missed the boat. Like, I get this actually quite a bit that I've been collaborating and networking at RIAs and in-person meetings is, where's the deals, or the deals I am looking at are so thin that if I make a mistake, I lose money. Heck, I've lost money in the last year on my deals, right? Going sideways. And I think it's a valid question. So, in my realm, to tag on to what Marty was saying, we're diving headlong into internet marketing very, very heavily, very heavily. Like I've pretty much cut off a good chunk of my other leads for a number of reasons, not because they don't work. And actually, one of my students just took and did one of the things I recommended, which was the texting, the tax delinquencies, and he got a deal within 14 days of jumping on board, right? Just because of the consistency and just doing it. And I think the question is not what works, but whatever you work consistently will work, right? Like if you work it consistently and you do the action. So for me, I'm focusing on internet. I'm focused on internet leads, and I'm focused on really building collaborations with people, connecting, providing value, walking people through the wholesale and the flip process, and in turn JVing and splitting deals. And so that seems to be the way that I'm leaning, but it also partners with, you know, some of the content and the educating. So that's kind of what it looks like. But I want to encourage people, you guys who are watching, the guys that are on here, the biggest battle you're going to have is right here in your brain. Finding deals it's like, are you a person who attracts money, or are you a person who's scared of it? And getting your mind right over, you know, real estate's really, really simple. It's three things. It's understanding how to do it, it's connecting with the right people, and it's talking to leads and generating them and doing the work. And a lot of times we don't do those three things because we're sitting in our house and we're scared and we're nervous and we're afraid we're going to make a mistake. And really the biggest mistake is not taking action. And so I want to encourage you guys out there, if you're asking yourself, dude, where do I find leads? Pick one of the things that you're learning and dive into it. The volume you're doing right now is probably not enough, right? If you're sending out, you know, 200 text messages a day, it's not enough, right? Send out 18,000 text messages over the next 30 days and you will get a deal. Okay. If you send out 200, it's probably not enough. So that's what's going on in my world, and some encouragement out there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so, guys, one of the things that I'm hearing everyone saying is, one, you're taking action. You found over the years, you found a couple funnels that you've been working on lately, right? That you're like, this is what I've been working on. You put some work into there. It's taken some time. You figured out the sauce that works for you. And now you're just plugging away and deep diving into that. So to go to those who are just now getting involved, we all get these calls. I really like talking to people that are like, hey man, I have some money, I got capital, I have something that I need to do. I need to put something to work, or maybe I got a second gig. I got time to invest in real estate. The first steps that I normally help people get into is just the simplest things is go to your backyard, pick out 200 houses, drive around the neighborhood, pick out 200 houses that just look rough. I think driving for dollars for the stuff that I do is probably the simplest things. This is basically anywhere in Texas, all right, that we could do that in. I think in some of the areas, maybe not Mark's area, but in some of the other areas, definitely if you're in a neighborhooded area or you get to areas where there's neighborhoods, it's one of the easiest things to do. Find the neighborhood that might be around for 10 years or older. If you want to get just a quick start, find neighborhoods that have been around for a while, not the new build neighborhoods. And we have tons of those in Houston metro area, guys. They're all over, and those in Houston know that. So do that, pick out 200, skip trace them, send them letters, and call them right away. It's pretty simple. I know a lot of us do text messaging, and I know Michael on here was talking about text messaging. Is there anything else that you guys are saying for like a newer folk who was like, hey, I just need to get my pipeline full? And I think that's one of the things, right, Ronnie, that you're talking about is like, how do I get my line? How do I get this basket full of deals, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're not deals, it just that the momentum is happening.
Back at Chase, when I worked in the investment world, we used to say we need butts and seats, right? We need people in front of us. And if we got people in front of us, we can pitch them. And out of so many of those people, we're going to get a deal. And so a lot of that's just filling that up, because real estate is a pipeline business, right? If you stop what you're doing today, or you get a deal and you don't do any work for 45 days, you're not going to have a deal for probably 90 days. So another really amazing thing that I've found as I've jumped in and really started helping more people is there's two questions when people get started. Question number one is, how do I create leads in my system? Well, once people actually do the work to create leads, the second thing that happens is, how do I talk to these people? And when I talk to them, a huge portion of them will immediately discredit you or discard you. And they'll say, I'm not interested, right? And then there's this, this, think of it as being like bloated in your stomach, right? You feel bloated with this pipeline of leads that you don't know what to do. You know there's deals in them, but I got 730 leads that I've touched base with over the last year that I need to work through. Heck, I have this, right? And so what I've found is that being able to go to people who are finally generating or trying to generate, have a problem talking to individuals. So I've been offering to negotiate on their behalf if they'll open up the conversation for me. Hey, would you be interested? Hey, are you thinking about selling? What, all of that, and then being able to jump on the phone. And so, guys, there are so many people who are generating leads and paying for money, and they're not actually following up with them. And so if you're a new guy and you don't have any money and you can't generate leads, but you're like willing to get on the phone and talk, go around and find 2-3 wholesalers literally every week until you create some good relationships that'll let you work their old follow-ups and split those deals. Even if you give them 60% of the deal or 70% of the deal, you can get 30% of a wholesale deal that might be $30,000 by working someone else's leads because you're willing to make the calls and they're just sitting in the bucket of someone else. That's something people are coming to me like, what do I say? Right? What do I say for owner financing? What do I say to get this guy deeper? What do I say when I'm offering a novation? Like, I don't know what that looks like. Ronnie, can you come help me? Then we jump on a 3-way. We're on the phone for an hour. We negotiate 3 owner finance deals, and we're doing a deal together. That's another just direction when you're talking about building this stuff up that I'm seeing right now that is actually a huge source for me. People are like, hey, can you jump on the phone? Yes, I'll jump on the phone. And Marty, I know you're big on that too. You know, what do you have to say about that? Are you running into similar things, or what, you know, where are you coming at in your market?
Yeah, dude, you're right on. I mean, Ronnie's always right on. That's the right approach for sure. And by, you know, number one is just like you said, hopping on the phone. You know, you kind of have to look at yourself as an investor, where you're coming from, right? You know, and that's number one is like, okay, do you have time or do you have money? Because I could show you some cool tricks to either one. And what's your level of discomfort, right? So a lot of money and very simple, and a lot of comfortability is with like the Google ads, right? Because they're coming to you and they give you a whole breakdown of why they're selling and how much. And, you know, those are really good, but they're expensive. Or are you willing to hop in your car and drive and look at, like what Gabe was saying, and drive around and find that property that hasn't been mowed yet? At least here in upstate New York, right? It's been a frost till May. So you finally find that lawn that's, you know, up to your eyeballs. That might be a good lead, but then you got to look it up and then, you know, find out the phone number and all those things. And that's going to take time. So it doesn't really cost a whole bunch, but it costs you in time. So yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a great analogy, but definitely information, but definitely get on the phone, you know, get on the phone. And, you know, I think I've said this before, but you don't want to wait around for a deal, or you don't want to wait for an opportunity. So you want to make an opportunity. That's by hustling, right? And we talk about hustling and getting after it. That's the stuff like driving for dollars. That, you know, like Gabe said this, I find 200 houses. The majority of people won't even do that, let alone look them up, right? So, you know, just, hey, what's the plan today? I'm going to find 10. Don't do 200, right? I mean, I know what Gabe was talking about. Do 10. Do 10 for the week. I'm going to find 10 properties and I'm going to write them down. All right, after I write them down, now what? Well, after you do that, now go on the county record and look up who the owner is. Okay, did that. Okay, now, so like try to like, you know, cut it up into sections and make it a little bit more digestible. But I think that's a really great way to start and get it going and getting your pipeline going for new people.
Mark, what is something that, and we have a lot of stuff going on, and you talk to tons of people that you JV with leads and stuff. What is something that you're helping them with for like newer leads, newer deals that are coming in? Because I know you work with a lot of you know, people that are kind of in their first year of investing.
Yeah, actually, not even that now. I'm actually working with people that I'm actually getting a lot of people coming to me that have been investing, and they have a normal W-2 jobs, but they've acquired like 4 to 6 properties. I'm getting a lot of those people coming to me right now. So they've acquired 4 to 6 properties, but you know, they're putting 20 to 30% down. So they're tapped out on their capital now, So they're reaching out to me now to kind of understand the seller financing strategy. So I'm getting a lot of those type of people coming to me now on knowing how to structure like the residential, commercial, whatever it may be. I'm getting a lot of that coming through the door at the moment. So was that what your question was there, Gabe?
Yeah, like what is your advice for helping people that are coming through there, that's coming through the door, and you're able to help them process and look at new deals? It sounds like they have leads or they've done some before, right? So what are you advising them to go out there and look for more, or what?
Yeah, exactly. Just go out there and figure out. I'm advising them whatever they're used to. If they're already currently investing, stick to that particular your buy box, if you will, and then start asking and opening up a conversation with the seller about terms. One of the questions when they always go through that I always recommend is, kind of go through your script, talk about the property, and say, hey, would you be willing to rent the property to us for a few years, and then we close on it? We'll take care of the maintenance repairs. So if they say yes, then they're going to be open to some type of seller financing term. So I'm kind of telling people that a little bit. Or if they're people new coming into the industry that are new and they only been into it for a year, depends on their situation if they have capital and credit, or if they don't, then I usually kind of advise them to kind of go through that same process, but maybe do what's called a sandwich lease option because it's a lower entry point to get into the property. Like I just closed on one back in January where I locked up for $100 as a sandwich lease option. I locked up for $100 and I turned it into $50,500. And that's where I usually advise people to start with before they jump into the sub two world. Sub two, yes, it's great, but you need to kind of know what you're doing. So you want to start out like on a wholesaling, or what I recommend is a sandwich lease option. That's kind of where I'm advising everybody.
Mark, that's such a good point. Like the people who are jumping into sub two and don't know jack from squat about real estate, that's really scary. I don't know, man, especially if they're assigning these sub two deals, that's even scarier. I don't know about it personally. I think you need to be at the top of your level before you're doing sub two deals personally. And you really, because it's a big responsibility. You're a fiduciary for that seller that you're working with. Like I don't even, to be honest, when I'm doing them, I'm like, man, there's a couple other options. This might be the only one for you. Oof, this is not a good thing. Like you're I'm going to be the guy that can help you. I can do this, but boy, it still scares me. It's a lot of responsibility. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Awesome.
I'm just telling you the truth. You should, you know what? No, if you're doing a sub two deal, you should be worried about making sure you're doing it the right way. You should be worried, because if you're not worried, then you got a problem. You know what I mean? Like if you're just kind of whimsical, lackadaisically trying to do a sub two deal and you don't really have reserves or a really good plan, I don't know, man. You should really be on top of your game. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think that people jump into it because it's tasty, right? It's a tasty topic. It's a tasty thing that's been happening for years now. I mean, we've been doing sub two for a long time. But it's also something that comes about where you could just sub two anything and just kind of do that and then make the split in between there and sell it to somebody else, and then they could do it and they take over it. And I've seen those, and I've been on the bad side of those too. And so, I mean, your name's on the ticket somewhere. Right. If it came,
and that's a bad mindset too, right, that I just kind of gave out. That's a scared mind. That's my own mindset. Right. So, I'm coming at it from a different angle where, again, that's just my opinion, my mindset, where other people who, maybe have a lot more confidence in it. Again, I'm just telling you the way I feel about it, because I'm empathetic to the seller a lot of times, where it's like, I just want to make sure I'm doing right by them. But that's also not the best mindset. So you don't have to listen to me.
I agree. I'm going to go to Ronnie on this. I want to get his thoughts on that.
Yeah, I want to hear Ronnie's thoughts too.
But I do agree there, Marty, because if you are coming in and you have no real estate experience and you're going right into subject to, you got to be careful, because if you don't know what you're doing, and if you get that loan called on a due on sales clause, and that's a $250,000 loan, you got to come up with some money real quick to be able to pay that loan off. So you definitely need to understand it. That's why I always recommend one of the other ones, or team up with somebody that has that experience and do the deal. That's probably the best bet, because sub twos are great. I'm closing on one on June 23rd, and it's going to be over a $200,000 spread on that one. So you can definitely do them, but just make sure if you're new, you know what you're doing or work with somebody. Ronnie, what's your thoughts on that?
I just posted a little snippet on my Facebook today, and it was the path of failure. And the path of failure goes like this: nothing wrong can happen to me, right? Everything I touch turns to gold. Then the next thing happens. You say, "Oh man, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and I want that." And what it is this pursuit of everything that I want with no discipline at all. And that's milestone 2. When you start getting to the point where, man, no matter what I touch, I'll just go after everything. And then you get to the 3rd mile marker, and the 3rd mile marker is, oh, this risk that I see, oh, I'm just going to deny that, right? And you deny all the risk and all the peril that you're bringing towards yourself. And then the 4th thing, the 4th milestone is you start realizing that you are in a really desperate situation. And what happens is you start lunging for things to save you, right? It's this lunging for salvation, this grasping towards, that gambling mechanism that will get you to go. And then the final thing is the death of your dream, or your dream becomes irrelevant and you die, is basically what happens. And, here's the reality: is real estate can make us. It's made me literally millions of dollars. Okay. I have also lost millions of dollars in real estate. Okay. Like, I have lost a lot of money. And so, yes, you can make $30,000 on one transaction. And yes, you can lose $68,000 on another transaction, or you can get sued and it will cost you $140,000. But here's what I want you guys to think about. Why are you doing this? What is it you're trying to change in your life? And based on that why, what do you identify with the most? Do you want to create a subject to portfolio? Well, then sit down and figure out what that business model is going to look like. You see, as a newbie, there's 2 easy models. And the 2 easy models are wholesaling and assignments and subject to owner finance. And the reason why they're easy is because they require no money. Well, that easiness, no matter which way you go, actually has a flip side to that coin. And the flip side of that coin is it's actually very difficult for one of 2 ways. Either you have to negotiate with no money, and 2, you have to do the research and make sure you're compliant. And so if you are willing to do the work and you're willing to get people on your team to cover your ass on the back end, then go and do it, right? And do it in a very positive way, because that very positive way will actually make you a lot of money. And it will take you from being this guy who's timid to stepping in the marketplace and saying, yo, come to me, because you have the moral authority of knowing you're doing it right. And once you can set yourself up to be in that position, that's how you create generational wealth that will change the trajectory of your family line, which is, my guess, is why people are getting involved in this. Is why I got involved, right? I wanted to go to Ireland. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to freaking Dubai. I want to do some cool stuff. I'm not going to do that if I'm just, forgetting about the details and just whimsically throwing stuff together. You don't become a multi-millionaire by just saying, oh, let me just try something, right? You do it by sitting back and learning, educating, creating value to the right network, building that up, creating an actual lead flow, and being attentive to the details of your industry. And guys, I want to really focus on this. Focus on the model, the revenue, and then building your credibility by following through at the highest level, right? And if you can do that, you will get what you're looking for. But I want to highlight what you guys said is, it's so easy to just think it's going to work out. It's so easy to just think it's going to work out. And as I'm pretty sure every single one of us, we missed a detail, right? We missed a detail and it cost me $42,000, right? And what you don't want is, you don't want to miss a detail and it costs you 7 years in prison, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to miss a detail and you get sued, and now you have to pay $140,000 out in a judgment, right? You don't want to miss a detail.
I didn't want to miss any of these details. And the detail I didn't miss is that the numbers seem very exact for a reason. These aren't just made up numbers that Ronnie's just saying out loud. But here's the truth. Here's the truth. So dead on, I think that wholesaling and sub 2, those are, in my opinion, the last things that people should do in real estate investing. I think because they're the hardest to, like Ronnie was saying, to really figure out. So you burn out very fast. A lot of people go, I'm going to get into wholesaling, or I'm going to get into doing sub 2 properties. And the reality is those you don't just find those types of things. They don't just appear. You make those deals happen, and you do that through experience, through mentorship, through just being out there and banging on doors. The easiest thing is just to buy a rental that's already in there, that somebody's already in there paying rent. You ain't doing much. You just buy a rental and someone's sending you a check. It's pretty simple. That's how we started. We bought rentals first, then flipped, and then wholesaled. So I knew exactly what people wanted. I knew what investors wanted to see. I knew how to find those things. So that's why we became very good at it. So if you're new, I guess what I'm trying to say is literally try it, unless you have undeniable effort and undeniable want and passion in the industry to get it done yourself. Go and work with somebody else that's doing it. Team up in JV with someone who's already killing it. I wish I would have done that. I'm a ding dong. I wish I would have done that years ago, but I'd be further ahead. But it is what it is. I had undeniable effort. The other thing is, in regards to sub 2, is same thing. It's that I learned that through the other creative ways of doing deals, seller financing, and then we did sub 2. And even then, I still was very worried about doing it because I wanted to make sure I did it the right way. And like Ray Dalio said, I said this earlier, if you're not worried, you should worry. And if you're not worried, you should worry, or whatever the term is. So anyways, that's what I wanted to get out there. I think it's all really good, but just pick the one, like Ronnie said, and but know your why and just go after it in whatever way whatever that means to you, I guess.
Yeah, guys, one of the things. Go ahead, Mark.
I wanted to ask you, Gabe, because I know you got to get off here in a few minutes, but why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, your situation, what's working for you right now, and kind of give your value to everybody?
So my approach is a little different than others. I work a lot with realtors and brokers and connect with them. And, whether we're wholesaling or we're flipping or we're doing some type of creative structure through those avenues, especially when we're getting into the commercial side of things. Just because we have the capital that's already set aside for us to do some of those more creative and larger transactions. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, for across the board, which I think is just one of those things that just happens as you grow in this business. And for those who are just now listening or who are just getting in, maybe you're in the first year, maybe your first couple of years, that there are skills that you acquire over time that makes the deals. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. And I think what happened to me and what I see happening to a lot of people is not knowing which skill to focus on first. And if we could, bring all this down to something, what we're saying is, like, find a skill that you're good at and double down on that thing. You're going to need to get good at phone calls. By far, you got to get good at communicating with people. So pick up 5 books, pick up one at a time, obviously, but get to a point where you're like, okay, I want to read at least 5 books by the end of this year about communication or negotiating or sales or persuasion or something like that. All right. Because the communication and the conversations that we have with people and building rapport and talking with sellers, you got to find out what their needs are at some point. You have to bridge a gap of you're just like everyone else to, okay, I could trust you. Right. And the faster you can do that, the quicker you can process through leads and the quicker you can grab those deals. And I've seen some of the best wholesalers around have some amazing skills with communications and just like what do you call it? Just more of a calloused skin when it comes to just rebuttals and people saying no to them and stuff like that. I think that's one of the key things that we have to be focused on. If you're going to get into real estate investing, treat it like a business and look at it of what skills would I would do if I were to open a Starbucks store, or what skills would I would need to know to if I were to be, a painter or whatever else might be, or someone else that's just a hands-on trade. These are just skills that you need, right? Another skill that I think that you're going to need, and we've all talked about it in different ways, is knowing how to do marketing at its best. You have to find your niche. All right. And we all have our different niches of how we do it. We have JV leads on here. We have direct to seller in a lot of different areas. Like I said, I work with brokers and realtors a ton. I still do direct to sellers. I still do mailer campaigns, right? Like those things work for me, but I have a unique list that I work on now. But I believe those are so powerful right now, is learning how to market. And I think that with the current condition, and thank God for people like Ronnie and Marty for keeping us afloat on the current things that are happening in the world and with the different ways to do marketing, it's enlightening and it's really great to see. And competition's so good whenever you have someone that might share something that's on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or something, and you're going, I can take that and I can add that one nugget to what I'm already doing. Oh my gosh, this is golden. And you come up with a new pitch, or you come up with a new line, or you watch some of these other, or you watch us and you go, I'm going to start adding that to what I do. So I think that these are two major skills that need to happen if you're going to be doing more real estate transactions. Is one, learning communication at the top level, with specifically for talking to sellers. It does help out when you're talking to crews and contractors and to brokers and realtors. It helps with everything, but definitely the negotiating. And then you have to be thinking about marketing. And I tell you what, guys, what's really cool is that in the last, I'd say since the beginning of this year, everyone I talked to, and last year, this wasn't really the case. Maybe I'm asking questions differently. I don't know about you guys, but lately, and correct me if I'm wrong, chirp in, but I've been having more people ask about, hey, how is your marketing doing? Or, hey, I just don't know how to do the marketing. Do you know how to do the marketing? I would like to partner with you on the marketing side of things. And I'm like, man, I've been doing it for so long. It's just kind of normal now. But I'm having other folks go, look, I'm noticing I'm not even good at that. Maybe it's just the turn of the times that we're in, where more people are starting to identify going, I know what my skills are and I know what my skills aren't. Are you guys seeing any of that?
I want to speak to this, and I think it's so powerful because the answer is yes. Yes, more people are doing that. And the reason why more people are doing that is it's not as easy as it was. There's a book called Shift by Gary Keller and a market shift. And what you have in the real estate industry, and it's not just a market shift, guys. It's a flooding of people into the wholesale space, right? And so this flood of people, plus the way the market's going, which nobody really knows, and it's this weird monster that's happening, it's causing less and less deals to happen. And the cool thing is, when you play basketball as a kid, you're learning basketball and you want to get better, you can go to basketball camp, right? And the guys at basketball camp can teach you some of the proven strategies. The cool thing is you can go to guys now that's oftentimes cheaper than basketball camp to learn some proven strategies. And then you can pay a little bit more to get personal mentoring and personal, talking to about it. See, Gabe. And you can walk through this process and you can learn and you can get part of some of the knowledge that people are doing and transitioning as time goes on. And guys, when it comes to marketing, if your current response rate is decreasing and costs are going up, understand that is part of what happens in a shift. In a shift, you got tons of people going after the same leads. And so what it does, it takes more effort to get less deals. And so it causes us to have uncertainty. And if we pull back, it's the people who go all in that win. It's the people who decide to press through the pain that win. It's the people who go in, but you want to start with the end in mind. You want to start with, what is the mountain peak that I'm climbing right now? If you're brand new, let me tell you this, your mountain peak is $100,000 in real estate. Okay. this is what the summit looks like. And then I'll switch it over, and I have a question for Mark. Number one, you need to figure out where you're at today. Number two, you need to do your first deal and prove that this thing can actually work for you. Number three, you need to put a year's worth of money in the bank and figure out what that is. And here's how you figure that out. You take the average deal size, which is about $12,000, divide how much money you need for a year's worth of income, divided by 12 grand, and that gives you your deals. If you need to make 75 grand, it's about 6 deals that you need to do to put a year's money in the bank. Then you can decide to quit your job or not, and then you make 100 grand. If you walk down that path, you'll sit on a mountaintop and you'll decide, where do I want to go from here? But it takes the work, and it takes finding that lead. So Mark, if people are wanting to jump in and they're wanting to, quit their job, one of the things that people get sold on is, dude, if I do owner financing, if I jump in, if I find these leads, I can replace my income, so that way I don't have to invest in real estate. What would you recommend, as a guy who works with these JV partners often, what would you recommend that if there was one thing that they should focus on in order to do more deals, or let's say they wanted to partner with you and they wanted to, find the deal and bring it and split it with you in whatever way, or whatever that might look like? What is one thing they could focus on to be able to find those deals? Because I know people are looking for that, man, what should I focus on? My attention's being drawn so much. What should they focus on?
I mean, there's so many deals out there, especially in this market that's pulled back. I mean, where it was just in Phoenix, I was just reading that the average home now sitting on the market is 89 days there, and the prices have dropped. So you got to look at markets. Like, if you're looking to do a seller financing, I would look at markets that go back and see how much they've dropped in the last 12 months, and look at no equity deals. I mean, look at somebody that purchased a property a year ago through an FHA or conventional. So you can jump on like Zillow, or even reach out to a realtor. I work with a lot of realtors nowadays, and just have them go out there and just become my bird dogs, if you will, and just to bring deals in the door. So you just got to kind of look at, understand, do a little research, understand like how to use like Zillow or Redfin or for sale by owner, one of those things, and kind of dial in and just start calling sellers, and just dial in and just start talking to sellers. And the key to it all is really listening, really listen to the seller and how to solve their problem. That's the key. You got to dial in. We have one right now. One of my people that I'm working with, it's a deal up in Georgia. The guy wants $128,000 for this property. It's a small home. It's free and clear, but he wants $30,000 down. It just does not make sense from an investor to put that much capital down on a $128,000 home. It just doesn't make any sense. So we started talking to the guy and like, hey, when you planning on selling the property, what are you planning on doing? He goes, I need $25,000 to get a camper, and he's already got it all planned out what he wants to do and start traveling to go camping through this summer. So we started talking more. I found out, in the conversations, that he banks with a credit union, and I'm like, oh, how's your credit? He goes, oh, my credit's great. So what I said to him, I said, I'm going to be straightforward. You're going to have a problem selling your property for somebody asking that much capital down when they can go to a bank and just put 5% down. It just doesn't make sense. However, what we'll do is we'll give you $3,500 down. You go to your credit union, get the loan out for $25,000, and on the 20th of every month, we'll automatically send the payment directly to the finance company. And what we do is we set up a Gmail account just for that particular finance company. So every time there's a payment made or any notification, it automatically goes directly to the seller, and it automatically comes to my bookkeeper as well. So just listen and ask questions, and then be creative and try to solve that problem. So that's kind of where I recommend on that.
I love that. I think that's awesome. Marty, on top of that, right, being able to solve their problem, sellers don't just blurt out their problem, right? They don't just say, hey, I've got all this issues. What do you do to really understand where they're at, right? Like, we're about solving problems, but oftentimes we have to solve a problem we don't even know exists because we don't, like, there is a problem, but we don't know what it is. What are some of those things that you do to draw them out?
It's a good question. I think part of what we do really well, and we do it seems naturally, just because we really generally are interested in people is take the time to build a relationship with them. And what that might be is you might have to give them something, right? You might have to give them a personal thing, whatever that is. Maybe it's a problem you have in your family, right? Or maybe it's something where, hey, I just had my newborn. I'm actually in the, unfortunately, I'm doing a Zoom with you, Mr. Seller, and I don't even have my office. I just moved. Like my wife just had a baby, and you'd be surprised by just giving them something that they'll give you something. And what happens is then you start, as the relationship starts to build, the bigger problems they're willing to give you. And again, it's not being maniacal about it. I literally want to know what's going on. If I can't help you, I tell them, listen, let me point you in the right direction. I don't buy every house. I don't know. Maybe I could help you. I don't know. Let me know a little bit about you. Here's a little bit about me. And, when you do that stuff, you're going to get better at building relationships in general, which is what real estate is. It's a relationship business. It's a relationship with your capital partners. It's a relationship with your contractors. It's a relationship with the sellers and the buyers. It's all relationship based. So I think it's really good practice. If you start genuinely caring about the other person, then you really will be surprised at the results that you'll get.
That is gold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a power play. I mean, you cannot, it really is. And you really want to listen, like you said, solve the seller problems. We're more counselors and advisors really at times to kind of help these people out. Because like you said, there's so many times you don't buy a house or property, but you can kind of give them advice and help them and send them in the right direction. But it really is, you got to care for the people. And Marty, you're dead on. And it comes back to you in return. But if you're just out there and like, oh, I'm trying to, make this much money in a deal, it comes across that, and people can really tell, and you won't go far in this business.
I was in, a lot of people know this. I worked at Chase before I became a full-time investor, and there was a advisor there, investment advisor. And I asked him, he was one of I think he was in the top 20 of the nation at Chase. And I was like, dude, like, how do you get these people to invest with you? And he goes, here's what I do. I bring them in and I talk to them about their personal life for 80% of our meeting time. And then I say, hey, based on everything what you said, here's the direction I would recommend. And he's like, that's it. And then they either agree with me or they don't agree with me. Either way, it causes us to have a deeper conversation around their situation. And that's how we get the business. Is first I listened, I understood, I took the time to get and know where they're at. And that gives me enough information to be able to walk them through. And, I had a really hard time building friendships when I moved to Michigan. Initially, I didn't know how to connect with all these people. I didn't have a community. And I had to start from ground zero. And, the most unlikely thing happened for me to build relationships I didn't start building relationships with my neighbors, with other investors, with anything until I was vulnerable and I asked for little inconvenient favors. And it was really interesting, guys, when I said, hey, I really need this, or, hey, can I get your opinion on a couple things real quick? It was when I started sharing a little bit of things that way is what really started causing people to move in my direction. And there was a back and forth. I do this with sellers. And the way you can do this with sellers, guys, is you can ask them their opinion of small little things. Hey, Mr. Seller, I'm assuming you've talked to a number of people. What's been your experience with my team? Right? You talk to them. Was it a good experience? Is there anything we could do to get better? Right? Hey, in this phone call, this is normally what I talk about that people want, but I'm just curious, is there anything else that you would like to talk about that I don't normally cover that you think would be valuable? And what you're doing is you're giving them a voice into you. And there's something magical about that. like they said, it's that being vulnerable, like Marty and Mark said. So let's wrap this up, guys. We've been on here for an hour. So to kind of go around the roundtable, Mark, if you could drop, a power play gold nugget on this, what would be your number one encouragement for people?
I would just say take action. And if you don't know where to start, and this is where I see a lot of people and they get struggled and they're like afraid to pick up the phone. Use and you don't have to spend money, is jump onto Zillow, go to for sale by owners, and go in a market that you don't live in. And if you don't care and you screw up, who cares? That's the purpose of it, to learn from it. That's what I'd recommend. Look, jump online. If you need a script, reach out to one of us. We'll give you a script and just start practicing in cold calling and speaking to sellers. And once you feel comfortable with them and you start feeling that, and then start what Marty was saying, building a relationship with them, that's probably where to start. And that's probably what I'd recommend if you're looking to start into this business.
Dude, that's awesome. Marty, what about you?
A lot of this just comes down to confidence when you're looking to either grow the business or start your business. And in order to, gain that attention and whatever it is you're looking to do, you really need to start keeping the promises to yourself. And that's how you gain confidence, because this business is, the more confidence you have, the more risks you're willing to take. And, starting a business or adding to your business is a risk. So, just little things. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And when you do those things, you really build up this energy. And if I could go an hour on this, but I'll leave you with that.
I love that, man. It's it reminds me, it's aligning what you say with who you are. Right. It's man, that's so good. Because if they're disaligned, it affects us the most. Right? It affects us the most. Dude, that's so good. Cool. And finally, guys, I would tell you is be consistent with a budget towards marketing, whatever that is, a budget of time, action, whatever that is. Pick an activity to do consistently, and do it. And then secondly, build a strong professional investing network. People who win at the highest level in whatever field they have people who are challenging them. They have mentors and coaches. They have advisors on their nutrition and their health. They have a mental expert that they can go through all of their mentals. Heck, one of my priests sees a counselor to deal with all the crap he listens to, right? Like, they have people they go to. And so build a professional support network around you to help you do these deals and to give you the direction that you want so you can change the direction of your life. Because the cool thing with real estate is one transaction can make you a whole bunch of money. And so, man, keep at it, keep plugging away. Guys, this has been awesome. We're excited to jump in here and do more lives. Go to our YouTube channel at Real Estate Power Play and check it out. Like it, sub. We've actually got a lot of really cool content there with stuff that we have coming out. We also have the podcast that you guys can go and download and listen in the back, and go back through and grab some of these nuggets that Marty shared, that Mark said, that Gabe did, and pick 1 to 3 of them and apply them to your business. And we've got literally nearly 2 years worth of content that you can go back now and really dissect our business models to add value to your life. So go subscribe, and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, guys. Peace.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.